All right, thank you all for coming. This is a tremendously exciting event. We are so happy that Scott and David decided to let Malvern Books host the Texas Poetry Calendar reading for 2014, and we are just cooking. We're just so happy to have you, and we're looking forward to hearing all of your poetry, and just welcome to Malvern Books, and I hope you love the store. We have a special going on, but I'm not going to sell things up here. Just buy books, do me a favor. Thank you so much.
Well, I am going to sell things. So we have lots of books by the poets who will be reading today, as well as Dos Gatos over on that table there. We are going to be hearing from about a quarter of the poets that are in the calendar, so you get a really good sampling, but that means you're just going to see the poet like that, and then they're going to be gone. So each poet is supposed to read 2 poems. 1, their poem from the calendar, and 2, a poem of their own choosing.
Do you have a calendar up there?
I do not.
A couple have already asked me if there'd be a calendar for them.
But I am going to tell you where the poems are before the readers get up here. So if you want to follow along and you don't have a calendar, now would be the perfect time to go buy one. And the front desk is empty. Perfect time. David and I are so happy that we are still here. We're not happy that we didn't sell our house 2 months ago like we thought we would over the first weekend, but
we're happy you didn't.
We're happy. I keep hearing there's people giving us bad juju on that house. That's one of them.
That mere web of
Anyway, we have poets today from all over the state that have made their way here to Austin, and we are so happy to have them. Before we start the actual reading, I would ask you, if you've got your cell phones on, to please silence them. I mean, you can keep the buzzer, whatever, the vibrate thing on if you like, but since people are going to be up and gone in no time, we don't want undue interruptions. And while Joe thanked us for choosing Malvern, we are the ones who are thankful that Malvern is allowing us to do this here. And we are very, very thankful. This bookstore has only been here a little bit more than a year, and it's already become one of the favorite institutions here in Austin. And, book people might think it's an independent bookstore, but not like this. Okay, so I'm going to be flipping around, bringing up people from the Austin area and interspersing that with people from all over the rest of the state. So we'll get a good sampling of the poets, and I'm going to try to keep track. And I didn't check to see who's here and who's not here. So if I call a name and you're not here, we'll just move on. So actually, and since there are a lot of people here and there's not a mic, they are taping this, by the way. The camera's right here, so do stand in front of them, in front of here, and do use your teacher voices. Speak loudly, Joe. And Marcelle.
Yeah.
In fact, let's bring Marcelle Kasprowicz up first. Marcelle's poem is in the week of January 18th, and Marcelle is here from Austin, Texas. Marcelle Kasprowicz.
Luck. To be first, the page.
January 18th.
Okay.
I don't know what the page is. We don't have page numbers.
Okay, here it is. Well, it's not very long. I always go to West Texas, and there's an animal there that's really interesting. It's the javelina. And so I wrote a little poem about it. and it's javelina, delicately porcine hooves. Bring to mind an overweight human, precariously balanced on stiletto heels. It can't hide. Its pungent smell gives it away. Pretty it is not, but it always cleans its plate. And I wasn't quite ready for another one, but let's see.
Is that your new book?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's my new book.
How much did you get paid for that?
This is my fourth book of poetry, and Cindy's been editing my books. And this one is called Her Blue Touch, and it's about a lot of memories that I have of when I was born in France, and I was born during the war, which makes me quite old. And there have been, all through my life, there have been many wars, and this is mainly about that. Well, I'll just get this one. Blood games, and that'll make you happy. Exiled brothers to the orphan fields run to seed, we played. It's about children during wartime. In the forced privacy of our abandonment, we discovered our body's intricacies, the thrill of a touch. Grown-ups operated on another playing field. Wholesale flesh for food, blood spillage on a large scale. Mimics that we were, we made our world out of dubious rules, short-lived alliances. Briar thorns were sacrifice weapons, and with a scratch to the inside of the wrist, with one touch, one drop, we became blood brothers. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to go a little north of Austin to the land of Belton. Brady Peterson. Brady Peterson.
I asked Scott to put me up front because my granddaughter Georgia is making her debut as a poetry audience person. And she's already ready to leave.
I heard her. October 18th is where you'll find
October
Brady.
18th, this is leaving Sweetwater, heading toward Lubbock. Leaving Sweetwater. Wind turbines crowd the horizon like a white stubble of whiskers on an old face. He is driving northwest, past pterodactyl heads without wings bobbing for apples. He passes a sign, "Don't make me come down there, God." White lettering on black, he reaches in the sack on the passenger seat and retrieves the spice drop. Sugar keeps him awake. He is hours and miles from the mountains. A man on the radio is talking about living the intentional life in Christ. We decided our one focus would be on our finances, a woman explains, as if money saved were the key. He switches stations, picks up a signal embedded in the asphalt, the gravel voice of the wolfman beckoning from Acuna. Oh, I have a book for sale in the back. This is the first time I've read this poem publicly. I wrote it a couple of weeks ago, and it got accepted for publication 2 days later. That's never happened to me before, and I doubt it will ever happen again. and it's a rough draft. They made me change the title. It's called Boot Camp, 1967. He climbs the ramp, turns before entering the plane, and sees one of his new buddies kissing his girlfriend goodbye. She is wearing the first miniskirt he had seen, her long legs telling him with certainty his life had taken a wrong turn. Oh shit, he finds himself muttering the entire flight to Chicago. Shit, as they ride the bus from O'Hare after spending the night in the terminal. A girl wearing a brown coat boots, and a red and white scarf, climbs on the bus and sits in the seat across the aisle. He doesn't know if she's pretty or not. It's enough she is sitting across the aisle. He steals a glance and she smiles at him. The beginning and end of an affair he will carry in his coat pocket as if it were a letter to be read at night in the head, the only light burning. At night, when everyone was asleep, he sits cross-legged on the hard deck in his skivvies. It is snowing outside. Morning comes at 4 a.m.
Brady. We're going to bring up a woman that we know quite well because we were lucky enough, fortunate enough to be able to publish her last book. Her book is over there on the table. It's called Letting Myself In. We are really pleased to have, and most of you know her, a wonderful poet from Tyler, Texas, Anne McCrady. November 15th is the date.
November 15th. The sound of coyotes rises in my neighborhood at home in East Texas, and this poem is about that. Run. Their midnight foray wakes you from dreams you will remember as winter omens. Along the reed-filled creek that weaves its way behind houses draped and dark rise the braided cries of coyotes, natives of this farm you inhabit as neighborhood. The night tracks their song, kits yipping between howls that lift into chords of wild delight. Nursing an urgency to flee what domestication threatens, you feel your heart racing as at the back of a pond the pack knots up to name moon in riveting whole notes until the riot unravels into a run that leaves a map of paw prints that by morning you will follow in kinship. And then this one, called Dusk. This is the book. I am so proud of it. Dos Gatos published it in spring of 2013. I am so grateful for their editorial work and the cover art and just for the experience of, it was very collaborative and wonderful. The poem begins by a quote by Kathleen Pierce, who teaches down at Texas State, an amazing woman and poet. The quote is, "Both dark and light are true." It's called Dusk. Evening deepens to deceive us. In the thinning orchard, tree trunks darken, sweet green to aging gray to blue-black, as newly set apples ripen into sunset. Roses, extravagantly rusted buttons, fade to the memory-laden scent of your grandmother's dusting powder. At the edge of the yard, verdigris wind chimes disappear into chime. The dog, collar and all, dissolves into the rope of his nose-up howl at the empty bowl of the moon. Inside the house, curtains close on backyard scenery as dusk drapes the dimly lit stage. Rooms cool. Clocks lose track of minute hands, but keep tick, tick, ticking inevitable time. Even the small child in his quilted bed becomes a mysterious changeling. One moment, a tearful tyrant, the next, a sleeping cherub. At this hour, no one knows the final form of things. Thank you.
And back to Austin with Claire Camargo. Her poem is in the week of February 15th. There she is.
They have a book up there.
Is there a book up there?
I have a book right here.
Okay. One thing that I forgot to put in my bag. I know it's in February.
15.
I knew it was near Valentine's Day. Last rodeo. He's got that cowboy look, rocking back on his boot heels. Lean as a string bean in blue denim jeans, cinched tight by a silver buckle belt. Long sleeve shirt with pearl snaps, topped by a beige Stetson. He looks ready to climb into the saddle on a bronc, or like he just dismounted. He looks ready for the dance. The panhandler ambling the median on Anderson Lane, hoping to lasso some bucks. And the poem I'll read to you is an ekphrastic poem that I was lucky enough to have published in the Ilias Honey that came out in October. It's called Strength of the Mangbatu Woman, and it's an ekphrastic poem based on a photo of an anthropomorphic harp. Mangbatu woman's braided, elongated head tilts skyward. She seeks the spirits above, face serene. The stem of her neck reveals strength, adherence to responsibilities not habitually met by the culture's male members. Upright spine of 5 vertebrae supports 5 bounteous breasts which feed Mangbatu man's hunger as he plucks the sinewy strings connecting to a hollow stomach. His body gracefully curves her body gracefully curves into his. Her womb, his vessel from which to sip, create and make music. Strumming her bowed body, he fires arrows of contentment. I have this chapbook, which I just brought today, called Iris Opening, a collection of poems, and they're all ekphrastic based on pictures which are in here. Thank you.
Are there any empty chairs that are out here anywhere? There's one there. Does anyone need a seat? Carmen? Okay. Each year, the poems that appear in the calendar don't just appear in the order they appear randomly. We spend a lot of time choosing where the